watching Unrendered on IKtv. I'm Tony Regisford, and I'm chatting with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves. Dr. Gonsalves, be candid with me. What is the airport costing the taxpayers of St. Vincent and the Grenadines?
If you permit me, just to conclude from the last segment, because this is an important point for us to be making. If you look at the economy currently in St. Vincent and the Grenadines and how it has been in the past, it is not self-sustaining to generate a surplus in the economy as a whole. You have to lay the basis to be able to create that wealth.
Yeah.
How do you create it? You create it by selling goods and services, as I've indicated. The people from here and overseas, either to them or you bring them here. But you need a lot of money to do that, to put the infrastructure in place.
Right.
So you have to get either grants or soft loans. And of course, the economy generally, you get remittances from overseas. No. I put that because that is important.
So you're framing your answer, basically.
I'm framing the answer. Now, the airport is going to cost in the region of $270 million US.
And that is still
Yes.
holding out as the final
Yes.
figure.
If it goes to 275, don't crucify
It's
me.
thereabouts.
If it goes to 280, don't crucify me. But that's the ballpark, because even with a 1 year remaining, some costs may well escalate. About half of it is going to be paid for in kind, cash in, either grants in cash or in kind.
Right.
Equipment, labor, and of course, lands which we sell to pay for lands. The rest is manageable because there has been no commercial borrowing
So 135 million, which
in
is
relation
half.
in relation to the airport, because
135 million US dollars.
yes, remember
you're saying
this.
is manageable.
Yes, remember this. You have the ALBA loans at 2%.
Right.
The Taiwan loans at 2%, though we got grants also from Venezuela and from Taiwan. I'm just talking about the loan component.
Yes.
The loan from the CARICOM Development Fund, the CDF. CDF is also a concessionary loan in the region of 3% plus. The Bank of Nova Scotia loan is 3.5% because of the guarantees which we get out of Canada and the United States by their export state agencies. Now, and other than the Scotia loans, which are more short term, in the sense of 5 years,
Right.
in the case of the other loans, they're 20-year loans, plus of course monies which come in as borrowings from the Petrocarib at 1%,
Right.
which for 20 years.
So all those are the components that would make up the 135 million.
More or less, ballpark,
Right.
ballpark.
Yes.
Now, what are the monies, when I hear people talk about what we put in, if you look at the estimates before, you see hardly any money inside of it for the airport, because it has always been externally generated by grants in kind or in cash. By and large, we took some money, for instance, when we sold our shares in the National Commercial Bank. Part of that money we put
Went to the airport.
went to the airport. Lands which we sell. So we found a creative way to mix it. The only thing which comes from the government in a structured way is, since we have put remember we passed a law that the departure tax will go towards the IADC, which is about $4.1 million EC per year. To help with it. I don't think anybody can reasonably complain about that.
So, to put it in layman terms, there is some borrowing associated with the airport. And if we project it in terms of the period of time over which the airport, a completed airport, would be debt-free, as it were.
Absolutely.
What is that projected period of time?
Well, the point about it is this. The loans, the soft loans, the maximum period is 20 years.
Right.
That's the maximum period in which you would be repaying. Of course, you have to operate the airport on an ongoing basis.
And you may incur some more debt as that
well,
goes along.
The point about it is this. We are looking for a structured way to fashion that. In fact, I would like to see all the airports in the OECS under one holding company and get a company which is linked to an airline to run these airports. Because if the whole of the OECS with 700,000 people or one contiguous landmass, they would have had only one airport. If I may just say, by the way, that in the case of St. Vincent and the Grenadines with just over 100,000 people, we have to support 4 airports. And that's a burden.
Right.
But we have to do it because Bequia is where it is, surrounded by water.
People have to travel.
Yeah, and not only that, you have Canawan. Without the airport, we would not have the scale, the jet
tourism.
airport, the scale of the investments which are now ongoing in Canawan.
Prime Minister, let's get back again to your estimates.
Yes.
There is a classification, for want of a better word, or category in the budget itself that pops up as other receipts.
Yes.
And I've heard the opposition, in fact, they asked you the question not too long ago to state the figure.
Yes, that the current budget, which has 112, we collected about 10% of that.
Yes.
Now, this is part of the management on an ongoing basis of your estimates. The other receipts basically may come from sources external to us. Sometimes you get more, sometimes you get less.
Has there been an instance where that budgeted figure has exceeded what you have collected?
No, never. Even from the days of the NDP, it has never happened. So what it means, therefore, let's say on the capital side, where you're going to need some local counterpart monies to put towards a capital project, you prioritize the nature and extent of your capital projects to see those which are ready to be done. For instance, in our budget this year, our capital budget, we have $257 million. $257 million. But nearly 100 of that is
other receipts?
for the airport.
Sorry.
For the airport. Now, in relation to the rest, when you are going to implement those capital projects.
Oh, we're talking about capital projects.
Yes.
Sorry. Yes.
When you're going to implement those capital projects, there's some of them where you need a certain amount of monies for your as local counterpart, and you didn't have that money, the project wouldn't be able to kick off. But very often what happens, you may have the item in your budget and you believe that you can kick it off, but for all sorts of administrative reasons and drawdowns and so on, you don't get it.
Right.
So when you're managing your budget, you try on the capital side, at the very beginning, you say, listen, our work plan is, this is what the estimate says.
Right.
Our work plan practically from where we are and how the funding agencies, the external agencies are dealing with us. You're not going to be able to do that one, or you wouldn't be able to do it to the extent of the $5 million. You might be able to do it you might be able to complete $1 million worth of work.
So essentially, it's a plan.
It's a plan, and you manage it.
Yes. Let's move
Because that's how we have been managing it.
Let's move on. Let's look at what may be one of your fiscal challenges: the growth of the pensioners. It's a world trend, actually, where people are living longer, and pensions, the growth rate of pensioners is more than people joining the workforce. Now, is that the case here in St. Vincent, where
Yes,
you're seeing?
it's a serious problem.
Yes. So
On the recurrent expenditure side, emoluments, wages and salaries, taking up about 51% of the recurrent expenditure, of the recurrent revenue, sorry. And which is almost the same thing like the recurrent expenditure. The difference is about $28 million,
right,
because you have a deficit on the current account of about that amount. And the next big item is pensions, which is about 10%.
And growing.
And growing. Because it will come a time by 2030 when the person who retires will get 127%
of their salary.
Of their salary, because you have two pensions, two sets of benefits, the state pension and also your NIS contributions.
So clearly,
that's not sustainable.
That you cannot sustain. So what steps are you taking now
we studying the issue, and I will speak more about it in the budget in January. Those who are already there, you can't unprotect their pension. But the new persons who are coming on into the public service would be on a different arrangement. Now, to give Sir James credit, in 1993, he foresaw this problem. In 1993. And he did something very simple. He passed a law. He said all those who are already on, by then it was just about 6 or 7%,
right,
of your revenue. It's now 10. He said, if you come on after the 1st of January 1993, you only get your benefits from the NIS. If you want to have a pension, there are a lot of private pension funds, you go to them.
Go to them.
But the state can't afford
a separate pension fund.
Separate pension fund as existed from time immemorial. When you had a smaller public service and all the rest of it. Smaller monies too. But those who were there on the arrangements before will remain as usual. So he foresaw that he had a longer period of phasing out. Then came 2000 and the greedy bill.
Right.
They panicked. The NDP panicked. They went to the House and they said, we are going to change that. Everybody now is going to go back. We go back on the government pension. Of course, by then, when they did it first, there was no political problem. But by 2000, you had persons who had been now in the public service for 7 years. And they were thinking, well, down the road, they wouldn't have a state pension, save and except the ones through the NIS,
yes,
which is a contributory program.
Yes.
Now, there are various models which are being advanced, and the actuaries have turned this inside out. We have people from the IMF study it. We have people through regional arrangements with the OECS, Central Bank. We have done internal work ourselves. We have our own actuary, Judy Vera, who has done studies on variations, the NIS itself. we'd want for persons who are coming on to see if we can devise a system which would be connected to a private pension arrangement where the employee and the state could get involved in that. To protect them nevertheless.
So you're trying to soften the impact it's going to have on government and the
yes,
government coffers.
And also to make sure
that the workers protected.
That the workers are protected.
Has a cushion. Yeah.
No. I must say that we have commenced a series of what we call parametric reforms.
Within the NIS.
Within the NIS. To help with that process.
But something deeper needs to be done.
Something deeper needs to be
Prime
done.
Minister, we're at the end of this section. When we come back, sadly, we'll be into the last section. So we're going to skip through rather, some of the points about your estimate.
Yes.
And of course, I want to talk a little politics as well.
Okay.
This is Unrendered on IKtv. I'm chatting with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. the Honorable Ralph Gonsalves. More when we come back.